Hey everybody, this is Petey from the Spin Rack. We also have
Calvin Ellis ready to rock. And
and
Mars, baby.
today we are talking about AI at DC Comics, right? And Mars has brought this story to us. Mars, what do you have to say about this?
Hey, so it looks like Francesco Mattina, of course, leading cool as always. Francesco Mattina is being accused of having images generated by AI. So because of that, DC is pulling many of his covers. So the question is, to what degree are AI covers, are AI generated works, can you basically do? Can you use an AI whenever you're doing art or not? You know, Mattina, of course, is falling afoul of this. I don't know to what degree he
why
has.
don't we just why don't we stick with Matina? Because that's what the whole story is about.
All
If we
right, let's
talk
go
about,
with
you know, if we go,
because
you can go back. We can go back a bit because this is about 2018. I think the first time his accusations come out. But I was dying laughing when I heard about it because they would say, look, other artists were coming out, like Ari Gradnov was coming out and saying, look, Francesco Mattina is tracing my work, and then he's putting it off at his own. And mind you, Mattina was getting a good following in terms of the covers that he was producing. So it wasn't that he couldn't do the stuff on his own. He just decided he was going to do this. So it was hilarious. He put the covers out, and the guys were like, "What are you doing? You're tracing my stuff." And it's kind of like, "Okay, okay." And then he did it again. And they're like, "What are you doing? You're tracing our work." He's like, "Yeah, all right, okay." And then he did it again. So it was hilarious. It was he was like, "What is it?" He was like, "P Diddy can't stop, won't stop." He just kept doing it. The latest thing, however, he was still catching work with DC. However, putting out covers, and I think he was still doing it. He was still doing it. Maybe he cut down to somewhat, or people were just like, whatever, there's nothing else we can do on it. But then the latest batch was that he did these AI covers, and he didn't do the art. He didn't do the art. It's like 100% AI. You can tell when you look at the cover. He didn't do the art, but he's saying, okay, art by Francesco Mattina. It's like, no, dude, you didn't do this. This is not you. So that's the big thing right over here. I mean, for me, it's hilarious because this is a guy who gets caught again, and then he does it again. He does it again. He just doesn't care.
I mean, was he a good artist before though?
Obviously not. If he was copying beforehand too.
No, it's okay because he's already using like a digital format, which gives you a big lift as opposed to if you're doing the whole art yourself. I can't say that I can't say that he was a good or bad artist. He turned out covers and people liked them. Okay, so the the public liked his art. Whether you want to say it's good or not would have to be another discussion. However, at some point, it becomes very apparent that he's tracing other people's work. And by tracing, I don't mean it's like an exact replica, but when you look at the pose, even there was like a cover with Dark Phoenix on it. So there was a Venom variant cover month where it was supposed to be like, what would the characters look like if they were venomized or what have you. So Francesco Mattina does a Dark Phoenix cover that's venomized, but it's the same cover. It's the same cover as this other guy's Dark Phoenix cover, except venomized. The pose is the same, the hair is the same, the positioning of the body is the same. So you're like, okay. And he's like, look, that's my cover. When you look at it, you're like, yeah, that's pretty much the same thing. And you would think he would have stopped. And he's like, no, I'm going to do it again.
Well, I don't know much of it, but hearing his name, I immediately thought of Carlos Mencia. So it's like the mind of Francesco Mattina. It's just like the Carlos Mencia thing where he was stealing jokes. We had this artist who's stealing people's artwork, and it's a shame. We've talked about AI before, and obviously, well, actually, comic artists have always struggled with someone kind of using. I think Rick Buckler struggled. People looking at his stuff, and a lot of stuff were a lot of swipes of Kirby and Neil Adams, and anytime anyone was getting hot, I think he definitely moved away from it post the 80s and doing his own stuff. But what he was known for in the 70s was a lot of stuff that were swipes. Now, artists definitely have used swipe for different cool shots and whatnot, for maybe a panel here, reinterpreting what's the name? Was it reinterpreting the cover or image in their own way, and to even to the extent to say of John Buscema saying struggling with working Marvel method, saying that the way Stan wanted, if he gave him something that was kind of taking a Kirby shot and like twisting it and changing the angle around, you would never know that it was a swipe. So it's like it's a practice that people have gone through and utilize as a tool or not a tool. But then at the same time, we've had a thing where the image guys, they kind of went berserk with it, and they went that they totally have the right to take on other people's style, art, techniques, everything, take images that they did and reuse them and say that
Out theft.
yeah,
Out now theft.
and then say, well, basically they, who was it? Perez did the shot here and Byrne did a shot there that was like such and such. How can you complain about me using Ron Wilson's thing for my bad rock? It's like, what? And that's the thing that was harder, whereas you can utilize techniques like everybody using techniques that Kirby did or Will Eisner. But the thing was, when you saw Frank Miller doing the lighting, right, then you had who took some things that was from Will Eisner, but then you had Byrne kind of take some of the stuff that Miller did, but use it in his own style. And then you see George Perez, who did Donna Troy, doing his noir thing, and it's dark, but it's a totally different kind of take than how Frank Miller did it. And Frank Miller does Sin City, Jim Lee does Death Blow, basically the same character. And he's like, you're gonna make $1 million more money than I did. But now this is taking it well further. It's just saying the AI is utilizing the artwork and then it's repurposing it and pushing it in different ways. So I feel that it's outright theft. But we got to give Mars. You got the floor now. Say what it is you want to say.
Oh, before we go, I just want to just double check with Cal. Cal, the value of his comic art of covers, is it putting pressure on some of the variants that he did in the past? Like, for example, he did one for the Super Sons #1. That was always a great cover with Batman and Superman and their sons. Did that put pressure on something like that to go down?
You mean is it depreciating the value?
Yes.
No.
So then this is just an isolated incident for this stuff here. All right, that's it then. So basically, want to know. I mean, but now I come back to what I was telling you before, P and Cal, is that are we saying that he just used it whole cloth, or did he make some type of changes? At what stage do you need to make a change on AI art? Percentage? Because I mean, I know people have said that in terms of you wanted to use a percentage of someone's, like, if you're writing a paper, right? Let's say plagiarism, you can only have like 10 or 20% of it yours, and then everything else. I mean, you can only use 10 or 20% from something else, but you have to use everything else has to be yours. So I wonder if the same type of yardstick applies to AI art. You can utilize part of it, but the vast majority has to be yours. What's your take on that, Pete?
No, I don't think. I think putting in someone else's artwork outside of maybe a homage or something like that, or something that relates to the story. But if you got ton of images withdrawn, like they got at least like I was counting 3, but this looks like it's like 6 of them, or maybe it's 6 images so far in this thing that I've looked at. That's too far gone. It's not saying, hey, here's a Hawkman issue. I'm going to do this image that connects to Hawkman from the past. It's going too far, and I understand Rob Liefeld would say different and saying, hey, once you start, you can't stop type of deal. Like, hey, if you do one, that means anyone can do whatever. No, it don't have to be like that. You can pay tribute to your favorite, image in relation to the comic that's coming out, right? The artist can take their own image and redo. That's where the swipe thing gets ridiculous, where they say Neil Adams taking his own image or Byrne, whoever, and redoing that image is a wrong thing to do. It's not the same thing. Taking someone else's thing and putting it in the computer and then you add in some flourishes on it. It's like how, if you ever heard of this artist Kastabi saying how he doesn't do any work, he just does his flourishes and signs it at the end. It's like that's what it is. Sorry, you gonna say something, Cal?
Yeah, I was gonna say with Liefeld, I think I'm pretty certain Liefeld is gonna come over and say something to the effect of, "We're giving these covers new life in what we're doing. You know, we're honoring them, and pretty much this art is just sitting around anyway. So when we do it, look at the sales numbers that we get on it. So you know, it's all good. You know, nobody really cares about this stuff until we put the image brand, the Liefeld brand on it. Now look, oh look at it. Look how much sold. Now everybody wants this cover. You can't be angry at me. Okay, you can't. We remixed it. This is the remix. Francesco Mattina, however, is a totally different thing, as this is out and out theft. And it's just out and out theft, and then it's like, hey, you didn't do this. It's AI. That's not even your cover.
So is there any more to say?
I guess not. I feel like this AI thing has gotten worse and worse. At first off, we saw some things. They showed us some AI art, and it looked like, bits and pieces of comics that we already saw, and with bad storytelling, kind of pushed together, having totally different styles. They didn't take Frank Allred and Brian Bolin and Bill Sienkiewicz and put it into one style. It's a one Sienkiewicz panel, one Brian Bolin panel, and one Mike Allred panel. It's just like that's a jam issue. That's a jam issue, a jam page, which is like works less than a jam issue. So I guess that's about it. Please stop it. Like the AR stuff almost in, I guess, in the advertising realm, this must be a wonder thing to have, where you can make up, you saying you want to have this settings, you can make up whatever you want. You don't have to draw things out and do redraw. You can always go to the AI. This is perfect for the ad thing, which is all behind the scenes. You're not putting our work out, but as a published thing, something that's in high value publishing, it don't work. And any other last words, or we're out of here? Spin a rack.
Out.
Out.